Hi, I'm Lisa Steele. I'm an author, blogger, and fifth-generation chicken keeper. I live in rural Maine with my husband, flock of chickens and ducks, 2 dogs, an indoor-outdoor barn cat. We moved to Maine for the peace and serenity. We wanted a simpler life and to step back in time where there are still corner stores and your neighbors know your name. Welcome to my farm. This is such an exciting time of year here in Maine. After being cooped up all winter, everybody is so happy to just be outside, getting exercise, getting fresh air, and just enjoying spring in Maine. Bella and Winston love being outside when the weather's nice, so they've been spending a lot more time outside, which is great because I can let the chickens out of their run, let them roam the yard looking for bugs and worms and mosquito larvae and whatever else they want to eat. And having the dogs out there with them, I feel more comfortable because this time of year is really bad for predators. We've seen hawks teaching the juveniles to hunt, so I really don't feel comfortable leaving the chickens out unless the dogs are outside with them. With more hours of sunlight, some of our older layers are starting to lay again, and a few of them have decided to be broody, so they're gearing up to be moms. Today is going to be an exciting day on the farm. We have some baby chicks coming, so I'm going to set up their nursery and then I'll share a couple different brooder ideas with you. We're going to talk about broody hens. I have a quick and easy DIY to share. Then I'm going to head into the kitchen and share a recipe that a friend just showed me that I know you're going to love. When you first get started raising chickens, I always recommend that people start with baby chicks because you just end up with friendlier chickens when they're older and they're healthy from the start. You know what they've been fed, and it's the baby stage. Like, you want to have that excitement. Over the last 10 years, I've done it a bunch of different ways. I've gotten chicks locally. I've had them shipped through the mail. I've bought fertile hatching eggs and hatched those. This year, I decided I was going to get the baby chicks, day old. We already have a rooster, don't want any more roosters. And when you hatch, you're basically going to get half hens and half roosters. And it can be hard to rehome extra roosters. So I went with the day old baby chicks coming from the post office. And when we got our coop, I had it sectioned off into a storage area and a sleeping area. And under the storage area, I kind of put a built-in nursery because I knew that nearly every spring we get baby chicks, and I wanted kind of a permanent place where I could have them in the coop. I also have a little trick for you later, how to get a mother hen to raise those chicks for you instead of having them in the house. So the nursery works out really well. But if you don't have a nursery built into your coop, there's lots of other ways to keep your chicks warm and safe until they're ready to join the rest of the flock. It's a beautiful day, and I'm waiting for the phone call from the post office that our baby chicks are here. So it's the perfect time to set up your brooder for them, either the night before or first thing in the morning when you're expecting them. You want to have everything ready before they arrive. So I like to use this galvanized tub. For 5 or 6 chicks, this is going to be perfect for the first week or two. They're obviously going to grow, so you're going to need something bigger. You can use a plastic tote. I like to use a puppy playpen. But for just starting out, when you first get them, if you just have a couple, something this size is going to be perfect. So you're going to want to put something in the bottom of it. Newspaper alone is too slippery. They can't get a good grip on it. Their legs can start to spread out, and they'll end up with something called spraddle leg, which you don't want to have to deal with. So you want something that they can grip. I like using the rubber shelf liner. It's nice and grippy. Any water they spill goes right through it down to the newspaper underneath. And then it's super easy to clean because I just take it out, throw out the wet newspaper, hose off the shelf liner, I usually cut 2 the same size, put the new one in with new newspaper. So that's what you're gonna have on the bottom. So before the day that your chicks are coming, you're obviously going to wanna get all your supplies ready. Again, they're babies, so you have to set up a nursery for them. Same as if you were bringing home a real live human baby. You're gonna want to make sure you have everything you need. So you're gonna need feeders and waterers for them. There's these kind of traditional, either glass or plastic gravity feeders and waterers. If you only have a couple chicks coming, these are kind of big and clunky. They tend to tip over. So I experiment with different things, and this year I'm trying this. I found some little espresso cups secondhand, and I epoxied the cup to the saucer, and I figured these would make really cute little water dishes. So I can pour the water in here. You want the chicks to have room temperature water, so you do want to get the water set up well in advance of the chicks coming. You can add some sugar to it. Just gives them a little boost of energy after their long trip if they've been shipped, or you can add some electrolytes to it. And then you want to put some little rocks into the water. Chicks drown really easily, so if it's anything that's not really shallow, you want to put some little stones in, so in case they fall in, they won't drown. But I thought this would be really cute, and the saucer will kind of contain their water mess. So I'm going to put 2 of them in there. You want to make sure that there's enough water for your chicks, and I give them water 24/7 when they're this small, and food. So that's their water. Then for food, you can use the bottom of an egg carton. Again, there's traditional feeders for chicks, but you can save some money and just put some chick feed into the bottom of an egg carton. And then when this gets wet or dirty, you can just throw it away and use another one. So I've done this before, and this works really well. So that's their feed and water. So in the top of the egg carton, you want to save that, and you can fill it with some dry dirt or sand. Chicks, even a couple days old, will practice dust bathing. It's really good practice for them. It keeps them busy, keeps them from getting bored and pecking at each other. And they can eat some of this too, and it'll be grit that they need. So I like to always give my chicks a little dust bath. And I have this little roost that I actually made for them out of an old clothes drying rack. But putting in a branch or something else they can hop up on, again, it gives them practice for being adult chickens, keeps them busy, little enrichment in the brooder. This is actually kind of big for this, but when they get a little bigger, maybe I'll put this in for them. But even just a little branch, I like to put a branch or something on that they can perch on and practice balancing. Then, because these chicks don't technically have a mom, a feather duster in the brooder, I'll tape it to the side or secure it to the side so it doesn't fall, but they like to go underneath it, and it's kind of comforting because it's like a mom. It looks kind of like a chicken with the feathers. And I'll just get all that set up, and even the night before, like I said, you can get it ready well in advance and have it ready for when your new babies come home. Just before a chick hatches out of the egg, it ingests the yolk of that egg. That yolk gives it all the nutrients it needs for the first 72 hours. So that is how the chick can survive the 2-day trip without eating or drinking. As soon as the post office calls, I'll go head over there and pick up my box of chicks. They'll come in a cardboard box with nice holes for ventilation and filled with soft bedding. Also, this time of year especially, they'll put a heat pack in that will keep them warm through their journey. When you first get your chicks home, you want to give them a nice drink. I like to take them one by one and dip their beak into the water just so they know where the water is. And then you also want to give them a quick check for pasty butt, which is a condition where they get stopped up and literally can't poop. So you have to clear that up, easily done with some olive oil and a Q-tip. Not terribly common, but it's a good thing to check for when you first get your baby chicks home. I have got a trick that, if it works, is going to alleviate the whole brooder heat lamp in the house, and we're going to raise the baby chicks outside in the coop under a mother hen. So normally I would try to break a broody hen. I don't want them sitting on the nest all day if they're not hatching chicks. But since I knew that I'd be getting some baby chicks, I wanted to make sure that one of my hens was really hardcore broody. So normally you would have a broody sit on eggs for 3 weeks till they hatched, but this is sort of like a workaround, and I'm going to get a broody hen to sit on my shipped chicks. You know a hen is broody when she's sitting on the nest every time you go down to the coop. So it's different than just being in there to lay an egg. She basically is going to sit day and night. When you approach the box, she'll start to growl, she'll puff up. She pulls out the feathers, literally feathering her nest with the feathers off of her chest. That also means that when she's sitting on eggs, her skin is right up against the eggs and keeps them warmer. So one of two things are going to happen. I always like to do this during the day. I don't want to do it just before dark because I want to stick around and make sure that she's really going to take to the hens. So I'll just take the eggs out from under her. She's been sitting on non-fertile eggs for about a week and a half now, I think. It doesn't matter, it hasn't been the 3 weeks that eggs take to hatch. A broody hen just wants chicks. She's not counting the number of days in her head. So I'm going to take the eggs out from under her, and then I'm going to take the chicks one by one out of the bucket and show them to her, and I should be able to tell right away if she's going to be into this. And if all goes well and all 6 chicks end up underneath her, then I should theoretically be able to just pick up the whole nest, the chicks, the nesting material, and mom, move them into the nursery, and that's where they'll live until they're ready to join the rest of the flock. Either she's going to be an insta-mom or they're going to end up back in the house. Up next, I'm going to show you a super easy DIY project to help you during the broody season. In the winter, I do a lot of DIY projects in the house just to kind of keep busy and have something to do when I can't be outside. But now that the weather's warmer, I love to still build stuff, but I can actually build it outside where it's nice and warm. And I tend to build bigger things or things that I'm building for a purpose because it's something I need. I love just going and looking in the garage or the barn to find things, whatever I can find and use, just spare screws or nails or scraps of wood that I find laying around is usually the best thing. For example, I started realizing that I was going back and forth to the house constantly, washing my hands after I was in the coop or in the garden, and it would be really handy to have something just quick that I could just sanitize my hands in the coop. So I got some scrap wood and a mason jar and a clamp, some screws, and made a hand sanitizer. And now it's handy, it's functional, it didn't cost me anything, and I didn't even have to go to the store. So today's DIY is again something that kind of came out of necessity. We've got a bunch of broody hens, they don't want to leave the nest, and I really just wanted to shut the coop, keep them all out, because I kept tossing them out of the nest and they just kept going back in. But if I shut the coop, then the other chickens couldn't lay their eggs. So I came up with something that's kind of a happy medium compromise and keeps everybody happy. I learned pretty early on that it comes in super handy to have a movable nesting area. In addition to your nesting boxes, someplace where your chickens can lay that can be moved around. Sometimes in the summer it gets really hot in the coop. Maybe you have a chicken who's sick and you want to separate her and she needs a place to lay. Or in my case, I have broodies that I want to break. Instead of tossing them out of the box continually, I just want to shut the coop, keep everybody out all day, and everybody else is going to need a place to lay their eggs. Whereas if you have something out in the open, a broody is not going to tend to want to lay there because it's not super secret and super private. So this is a super easy project. All you need is an old chair. If you have an old bench, even better, you can make a 2-nest kind of setup for your chickens. So you just need an old chair and then some kind of pan or container to use as your actual nesting area. I found this nice metal pan that I'm going to use for mine. To get started, I'm going to flip the pan upside down and trace the outline onto the seat of the chair. Then with a jigsaw, I want to cut just inside that outline that I drew because you need the pan to sit on its lip on the seat of the chair. Once you've got your circle cut out, you can paint your chair, paint your pan, and then set the pan in the seat of the chair, add some nice soft bedding material, some dried herbs for a little bit of aromatherapy, and then just set your chair wherever you want your chickens nesting, whether it's in your run, in the shade under a tree or under a bush. I'm going to be putting my chair in the run so I can close up the coop so the broodies can't get back inside. Next up, I'm headed in the kitchen to make some Scotch eggs. I recently had a friend come and visit from the UK, and she showed me how to make Scotch eggs. I've never had a Scotch egg before, but they were so delicious, and what I really loved about them is that they're portable, so if you're running in for a quick lunch and you've got to go back outside to get things done, you can just kind of grab them and go and eat on the go. And they include eggs, of course. So today I'm going to show you how to make Scotch eggs 2 different ways. To get started, I soft boiled some eggs. I put room temperature eggs in boiling water for 5 minutes and 45 seconds, then took them out, put them in a bath of ice water to cool, and then peeled them. Then I took 2 additional eggs and just whisked them because we're going to need an egg wash for the eggs just before we bread them. I'm going to pour some breadcrumbs into a bowl because that will make the breading on the outside of the eggs. Next, I'm going to take some pork sausage meat. 1 pound will make 6 Scotch eggs. Then I'm going to add a little bit of pepper and a pinch of kosher salt. At this point, this would be the filling for plain. We're going to make maple bacon and also jalapeno cheddar. You can make any flavor profile that you'd like. You can make ranch or barbecue, mustard, and just add whatever fillings you want to your pork meat. So we're making maple bacon, so I'm gonna add a couple of slices of raw bacon, and then I'm gonna pour in a little bit of maple syrup. This is local Maine maple syrup that we bought at a local farm on Maine Maple Sunday, which was a couple weeks ago. And then I'm just going to process it until it's all smooth and pureed. And that looks good. So now I'm just going to wrap each egg in a little bit of this meat mixture. It's really sticky, so the easiest way to do it, I was told, is to pat some of it into your hand. And then take an egg and then just kind of let gravity fold it over the egg. And you want to make sure that you really seal the egg inside the meat. Roll it in the egg wash and then put it in the breadcrumbs. And a trick that my friend showed me, because this is kind of messy, is you just kind of swish it around like that so your fingers don't end up in the breadcrumbs. So that looks good, and I'm just gonna put it over here on a parchment-lined sheet and make the rest of them. So I'm gonna put my thermometer into the oil, and when it comes to about 330 degrees, then we know it's ready for the Scotch eggs. So I'm going to make some jalapeno cheese. I can use the same food processor container, don't need to wash it out. So I'm just gonna add the rest of the pork. Sliced jalapenos, you can use as many or as few as you want, depending on how spicy you want it. And then some shredded cheddar cheese. Same salt and pepper. And then blend that up. That's looking good. So same thing, I'm just going to wrap each of the eggs in a little bit of the pork filling. I bet this would be really good with like pickled relish inside. Then into the egg and shake it around in the breadcrumbs. So I'm going to let those cook for 6 minutes. They've been in here for 6 minutes, so now I'm just gonna carefully take them out and put them on some paper towels to drain. Since these are raw pork and raw bacon, you want to really make sure that they're cooked all the way through. So you're going to take a meat probe and just kind of get it down into the meat layer and make sure that you cooked them to at least 160 degrees. Well, I am super excited. They've cooled enough now to handle them. I think my friend is going to be really proud of me because these came out beautiful. The crust is a nice golden brown, really crunchy, and hopefully the inside is still orange, yolky goodness. I'm going to cut one in half and see. So these can be eaten warm or room temperature. You're going to want to refrigerate them if you're not going to eat them right away. And for longer storage, then they'll have to be frozen and reheated. For more egg recipes, visit fresheggsdaily.com. We talked about how to get baby chicks from the feed store or through the mail. If you have a rooster, you can also try hatching your own chicken's eggs using an incubator, or if you have a broody hen, you can put some eggs under her for 3 weeks and they should hatch into chicks. To do a quick check to see if the eggs from a certain hen are fertile, you just want to crack an egg into the bowl. If you see the white bullseye on the yolk, that means her eggs are fertile, and those are the ones you want to incubate. If you're just getting started, it can be kind of daunting to raise baby chicks. There are lots of different ways to do it. I've shared a couple options as well as what works best for me on my farm, but everybody's situation is a little bit different. The main thing is to remember they're babies and they need to be kept warm, have plenty of food and water, and be kept safe. If you just relax, have fun with it, spend a lot of time with them, and remember they don't stay little forever.